If the Beatles and the Stones were simply a reflection of the times, then the Monkees TV phenomenon was too, just to a different group of people. Michael Nesmith talks about how easily he fell into it all, at first.
My getting involved with that was very natural for me, because it was, the Monkees were a very advanced kind of an idea during their own time, but the environment was not supportive. The environment was very difficult, and as such, it had a tendency to push me into kind of a type of insanity, and everybody else into a type of insanity where you didn't know whether you were coming or going, where you didn't know whether you were a television show or a rock and roll band. Who knew? And now I can look back and I can say, well, I can see clearly what it was. And had we all been real tough, or tougher than we were, we would have made it through, and everyone would have ultimately caught on. The public, I'm talking about, to what that whole monkey show was about. But as it was, we only managed to make it through 2 years before all of us were just crumbling under the almost unbelievable pressure of the public opinion. It was extraordinary what the effect that it was having, because we were like a fish out of water. It was like someone was saying, I mean, they continued to say, well, the Monkees were the answer to the Beatles, which was utter nonsense. After the Monkees was over, I was a millionaire, and I had become thrown right into the middle of the marketplace, and the economic realities of having a lot of money and all that stuff started to come down on me. And I can tell you that one of the things that I learned early on was the fact that having a whole lot of money, especially in the United States of America, is not necessarily a plus, because it can be very difficult to deal with. And that's exactly what happened to me. It was hard to manage, and it was hard to make good decisions, and I made a lot of bad decisions.
Lucy and Ramona cruising through the jungles of L.A., hoping to promote a dream somewhere along the way. They're rolling through the streets, looking for a disco, passing up the treats from a kid named Cisco, trying to make connections with their blemish-free complexions, and just as fate would have it, ended up with Sunset Sam. Sam was selling watches from a suitcase on a TV tray, and Lucy and Ramona kept trying to figure out if he was gay. The three of them were standing, staring at each other, when the light behind their eyes blew each other's cover. The ancient code was branded, and each of them was handed a ticket to their kingdom, 'cause they saw their brother Sunset Sam. Lucy was from Compton, and she met Ramona at the zoo. Ramona was from Brooklyn. She left when she was 22. Sam was a native of the Arizona desert, but he split when he was slated for some governmental make-work. Their differences subsided when the common bond was sighted. They were all from the same place that made the famous Sunset Sam.
That's Cruisin', the story of Lucy and Ramona and Sunset Sam, a track off the new Michael Nesmith album called Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma. The LP is the third for Michael on his own label, Pacific Arts Records, where after a number of albums on RCA, he realized that to see the big picture, sometimes you have to watch from a distance.
So I began to see, the ownership of the store becomes real important, and that in order to do that, it makes a lot of sense to have the artist, or once again this thought process, involved in the ownership of the corporation. So about 5 years ago, I started the Pacific Arts Corporation specifically with that in mind, that if an artist would control and operate a corporation and could weather the vicissitudes of economics in America and make something solid and stay away from the pressures of getting big, which we are getting and intend to get bigger, that there was something that could be gained for a lot of people, that it was a good move. But I also knew that I couldn't stop my artistic endeavors. So that's what I did. I started this corporation with my wife, Catherine, and moved to Carmel, California, kind of moved out of that center of L.A., reasoning in the following way. If I'm in L.A., I'm in L.A. It's a remarkably small city. If you're in New York, you're in New York. You're in a remarkably small city. But if you're in Carmel, you're a place on the planet. And from there you can see New York, L.A., Tokyo, London, and all the places around. And so I wasn't dropping out of the mainstream. I was really dropping into the center of a global consciousness, so that I could deal effectively with Portugal and Hamburg and all those other places, which you can see much more easily past the miasma of inter-industry hype, which happens so much in L.A. or the Big Apple. An artistic sense, I just put out another album, working in a new medium now, which is rock and roll. Going back now and visualizing some of these early forms of rock and roll and dealing. It's like dealing again instead of acrylics this time. I'm dealing in clay, and it's sculpting. It's a little different. It's more three-dimensional. The name of the album is Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma. It's a departure from the other albums that I've done in that there's more abandon in it. But the Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma is the first stage. Well, actually, it's the second stage, because the first stage was from a radio engine to the photon wing, which is now completed some time ago. I've been dealing in multimedia for some time. Not multimedia in terms of trying to attack the senses on several levels, but in dealing with the synergism of multimedia. In other words, if you have two things going on simultaneously, do you have the sum of two things going on simultaneously, or do you have more than the sum of the parts? Which, of course, is the whole concept of synergy. And I'm convinced that you do. And my first experiment into that, to convince myself that existed, was The Prison, which is a book that you read while you listen to a record, and it develops another media. So in dealing with multimedia projects, from a radio engine to the photon wing and The Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma are albums which I have slated and intend to make into video LPs, video records. In 10 years, it'll be just as silly for us to buy an audio-only records as it would be for us to go to a visual-only movie today. You just don't do it.
Right.
It's dumb. And the future of using the medium of television and televised music is an extraordinary thing to contemplate, because it's forcing artists of every caliber to grow, to rise into a higher realm, and it's a sphere of thought that is almost native to me. I love it, and it's very easy for me to exercise, and very easy for me to work in it, and I'm happy to work in it, and I'm beginning to work in it now.
I've been waiting for answer from the light in my soul, and the light that keeps calling are the lights of hello.
The Eclectic Light, another track off the new Michael Nesmith album. As you listen, keep in mind that one day you'll probably be watching the album on video.
It is a field of exquisite beauty, and what it will provide to us as a people in enlarging our own concept of art, no one can really envision at this point. People began to conceive of their television as something that they could control. And that happened with, of all things, Pong, the video game. Because you began to see, gee, you know, I can play with my television set. In much the same way that I program my radio, which is really nothing but a stereophonic system, high-fidelity system. That is nothing but just programming your radio. I can also program my television set. But unlike audio-only programming, which is your hi-fi, audio-visual programming allows you infinite capacity because you have the ability to have return from the screen that you can understand and that you can act on. Subsequently, the interface with computers and the concept of having your own home computer, having the newspaper arrive. Here's something interesting. The newspaper arrives on the television. You can scan through it by typing in certain numbers. You look at whatever you want to look at. You have an entire data bank, and it'll give you everything from recipes to an encyclopedia to the directions to a friend's house. You have the ability to shop, go into a supermarket, and pick out anything you want to, except you do it all right on your screen. You dial it up and you look at a picture of it. Now that sounds like something right out of 2005. That's happening right now in England, in 3 cities. That type of television system exists. It is only just the beginning of what is about to happen in the communications medium. But it's more than just communications. It's also self-development, and it's self-awareness, and all of the things that are going to help us to enlighten ourselves, make our thought loftier and more exalted. And all of this, I'm sure, has a place for these thought processes that I talked to you about when I first started off. You recognize these thought processes, and I can recognize this as another center for those very thought processes that happen, that I recognize standing on the street corner watching that guy play the organ.
Set the groove, set the mood, check out what's on the tube. Close the day, time to play. Put the sounds on the stereo, drift away, drift away, drift away, drift away, drift away. Hello, people, 100 years from now. It may not make much difference, but I'll say it anyhow. Let me tell you of the planet and what we're doing now. It really is bizarre enough to make me take it slow. There are cartoon creations made of people and of lines. Dance around the TV and they dance around our mind. There are a bunch of different holy men pointing different ways. Don't think, do think, watch out what you say. And we all try, yes we try. We all kept plugging like a salmon up a stream. Some of us were dancing, but some of us were screaming. We tried, oh how we tried. Bunch of different funny people living by the sea and trying to get to other planets, trying to start another scene. Peter said, come pay us, show you what we mean. But I learned not to trust them, they were not what they seemed. We all kept plugging like a salmon up a stream. Some of us were dancing, some of us were screaming while we tried. Oh, we tried. Marie, she looked like Linda with 50 extra teeth. Linda made the cover of a family magazine. And Bonnie was the singer that made both of them dream. But they all lost to disco, the current mating theme. I've never seen a hero. I've got 5 million dreams. I've never been to Harlem, but I've been somewhere in between. As long as I can keep moving, I guess I'll keep up with the scene. Dancing to the rhythm of the road. Yes, I'm dancing to the rhythm of the road. Set the mood, set the groove. Checking out what's on the tube. It's the close of the day. It's a time to play. I'll put some sounds on this stereo. Drift away.
Well, that's it for the Michael Nesmith radio special. Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma is the name of the album. Look for it on the Pacific Arts label. And one day look for a videotape of the album. That'll be on Pacific Arts too. Thanks for listening.